Now on Brooklyn News Live, the death of Jesse Jackson, the popular civil rights leader, sparking this memorial ongoing at the Rainbow Push building, rather, in Chicago. We're following the latest from that. Plus, in just moments, we'll take you to this feed coming in from Winder, Georgia, moments ago, as the case for the Appalachia shooter's dad continues. Brooklyn News Live starts right now.
Brooklyn News Live starts right now with breaking news.
Alrighty, hi everybody. It is good to be with you. We do have a little bit of news coming into us right this moment that we do want to get to. Again, this is breaking news coming into us again just moments ago. A silver alert has been issued by the Jonesboro Police Department for this man. You see him there on your screen. That's the picture sent to us from the Arkansas State Police. This is Michael Woodward III. His vehicle was found unattended in Cross County on on a bridge in St. Francis County near Madison. So the search for this man, I'll give you some information here. He was born on March 6th of 1960. Um, Reported missing early this morning at about 3 a.m. He's a 5'8" black male, 170 pounds. He's last seen wearing sweatpants and a dark colored plaid long sleeve shirt. So you see that photo there on your screen. Here's what you do if you have information about that man. You can contact the Jonesboro Police Department at 870-935-5657. Again, that is 870-935-5657. That's that number if you have information there on that man you see on your screen. We are also getting in some more breaking news here coming in within the last few moments or so as the search for Nancy Guthrie has entered day 16. Well, I want to pull up the exact quote here so I can read it to you coming in right now from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. They are confirming some information that we had earlier reported that they were looking to confirm, or looking into rather. So if you remember, they were looking for that glove. Um, they were looking for that. They had found that glove. I might still have a picture of the glove. I do. Okay. So give me one moment. Here's the glove. They found this glove. They said, okay, analysts were suggesting, okay, this matches further to what had been earlier reported that the glove that was being worn in that video. Now, the Pima County Sheriff's Department, after sending it to Florida for DNA analysis, is saying the DNA evidence from the gloves found approximately 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's residence was submitted to CODIS and produced no matches. There is additional DNA evidence that was found at the residence that is also being analyzed. So that's the update, at least today, on this search. So again, if we get more information in, we will bring that to you guys. On this case, we are following, of course, the latest in this investigation. If you do have any information on the whereabouts of Nancy Guthrie, and I'll pull up a photo for you here, you can contact that number that we have there on the lower third. Uh, Give me one moment. We'll have it pulled up for you guys. Here we go. So this is the poster that they are placing up there in Los Angeles, and then you'll see some video as well here of what appears maybe to be that suspect. So if you have information on her, 1-800 call FBI is that number for anybody with tips. So the search there now entering day 16, now week 3, and it is still full steam ahead. Okay, we've got more news this hour. We want to bring you. We mentioned it there at the intro. Popular, I keep saying popular, but really just an empire in the civil rights world. Activist Jesse Jackson. Uh, has died at age 84. You may have seen some reporting about this earlier this morning. We'll put a photo up of him as we tell you a little bit about who Jesse Jackson is and why you likely already know who he is. There you go. There's that photo of Jesse Jackson, of course, an older one. Now, Jesse Louis Jackson he was a pioneering American civil rights leader. He was also a Baptist minister, a political activist whose work spanned over 6 decades. He was born in Greenville, South Carolina. Now, he rose from challenges of segregation to become a prominent prestige of Martin Luther King Jr., helping lead the Southern Christian Leadership Conference's Operation Breadbasket before founding Operation Push and the Rainbow Coalition, which, if we take you right now, that is where that memorial is growing right now in Chicago. That is at the Rainbow Push Memorial Center. So we can also leave you there on that shot there. Jackson became a powerful voice for racial and economic justice, launching historical presidential campaigns back in the 1980s, 84, 88, that expanded Black political future generation. I should say it did also do that, but it included not only inspiring the future for African Americans in politics, that also included people like Barack Obama. Now, beyond domestic civil rights, he engaged in international diplomacy, negotiating the release of hostages in Syria, Cuba, and other states. So, really just a tireless advocate who never gave up. Now, again, that activist, Jesse Jackson, dead at 84. So, we will continue, of course, following this shot that we have of that ongoing memorial that is growing. And if we get any more updates, we'll bring them to you. We're gonna sneak in a quick break here when we come back. So talks have just wrapped up in Geneva between a number of different countries. We'll break down what those countries are, what the peace talks were. Could a war be ending? We're talking about it when we come back right here live on Brooklyn News Live. Alrighty, welcome back live here into Brooklyn News Live. I'm Jackson Mitchell, and in case you missed my introduction there in the first segment, it is of course good to be with you on this Tuesday, February 16th, 2026. Want to turn to the headlines that everybody's talking about starting overseas. Alrighty, the U.S. brokering peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. We've got the latest on that. We want to take you to this live shot from this morning in Geneva, Switzerland. Okay. Here's what we know. So the U.S. broker talks ended for the day already today. Now, quote, the discussions focused on practical issues and the mechanisms of possible shutdowns. That is Russia there in a post, thanking U.S. for the talks. Now, the U.S. expects to receive detailed proposals from the Iranian government as well to adjust gaps in the position of the two countries. I was reading earlier today, Iran says they're taking more of a indirect talk type of situation coming from this. Again, they still say progress was made, but a lot of details are still success to discuss. Left to discuss is what I'm trying to say there. That is a paraphrase there from a U.S. official. Now, the readout appeared positive, but it comes as the U.S. military continues to build up its posture in the Middle East. President Donald Trump has warned Iran of a very traumatic outcome if they don't agree to a deal in the coming weeks. So that is coming from the U.S., Iran, all speaking out following those talks. Still room to discuss is what it sounds like from what I just kind of read to you there. So we will follow that. Of course, the Russia-Ukrainian war, an ongoing one that a lot of people have talked about. It's a big one. People want it to be over with. That is one thing for sure. So give me one moment here as you continue to take a live look there at Geneva, because I'm going to pull up what they call a press gaggle, which President Trump had one, essentially where he comes from to. It doesn't have to be in a plane, but he came to the back of Air Force One and spoke to reporters for about 15 minutes. It included addressing this situation in the peace talks there. So we do want to play that out for you. Again, this is last night aboard Air Force One as the president headed back to um, the White House. Okay, I'm actually lying to you guys. I believe this is Sunday night. No, I wasn't. February 16th is what it says. Here's President Trump. Let's listen in.
So, great financial numbers you saw. Low inflation, very low inflation. Prices are down, way down. Gasoline is less than $2 in many places a gallon, which nobody expected to see, but I did, because we're going by the initial expression of drill, baby drill, and prices are coming down very strongly. And as goes gasoline and oil and gas, so goes the rest of other products that were high because of Biden. So we inherited a mess, and we've brought our country back very, very powerfully. Crime numbers are way down, despite the fact that they let in 25 million people, many of whom should not have been allowed into our country with their open border policy. But it's the country's doing very well. Any questions?
What are you expecting from these Iran talks in Geneva tomorrow?
So I'll be involved in those talks indirectly, and they'll be very important. We'll see what can happen. It's been typically Iran's a very tough negotiator. They're good negotiators, or bad negotiators. I would say they're bad negotiators, because we could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential, and we had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be more reasonable. They want to make a deal.
Have you been told that a deal is next to impossible?
No, I think they want to make a deal. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
Are you going to sit down with Democrats this week on DHS funding, sir?
I will, but we have to protect our law enforcement. They've done a great job. I just got finished saying that we have the best crime numbers we've had in many years, and on murders, 125 years, and that's despite a lot of people that shouldn't have been let into our country coming into our country, criminals, many, many criminals, but we've taken out tens of thousands of people, brought them back to their countries. Many of the criminals that were brought in, allowed to come in, have been removed. So, we're okay. But to have the best crime numbers, which aren't made by me, these are made by people that do that, many left-leaning. We have the best murder numbers. Horrible thing to say, but we have the best murder numbers since 1900. That's before my father was born. 125 years, think of it. The best crime numbers since 1900 having to do with murder, and really good crime numbers, the best in years.
Are there any demands that Democrats are making that you're okay with?
Well, I don't like some of the things they're asking for. We're going to protect law enforcement. We're going to protect ICE. They're part of the whole system that is working. In Washington, D.C. now is considered a very safe city. When I took over, it was a city that you were losing 2-3 people a week. Over 100 people a year were being murdered in Washington. Now it's considered a very safe city. And we did that. I did it over a fairly short period of time, too.
On DHS, recent news reports have discussed the widespread belief that Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski are in a personal relationship. Is that a bad look? Recent news reports have discussed the possibility that Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski are in a close personal relationship. Is that a bad look, and do you think she'll be in the job much longer?
I don't know about that. I mean, I haven't heard that. But, I'll find out about it, but I have not heard it.
Do you think that will you give your State of the Union speech if we're still in a shutdown next week?
Well, I think I would. Yeah. Wouldn't bother me. I would give it. Yeah.
How are the negotiations going?
With what? Which one? We have a lot of
No,
negotiations.
with the government shutdown.
This is a Democrat shutdown. This has nothing to do with Republicans. This is a Democrat
has
shutdown.
the White
They're
House-
upset that the crime numbers are so good. They're very unhappy that the crime numbers are so good. They're very unhappy that there's a movement for getting voter ID. They want voter ID. The population, 98%, want voter ID. They don't want voter ID because they want to cheat in elections. They also want other things. They don't want mail-in ballots. They want to end mail-in ballots, which is corrupt. And one other thing that they're insisting on is proof of citizenship. And the Democrats don't want to give proof of citizenship. They don't want to give voter ID. Think of it. Who wouldn't want proof of citizenship? I ask you, Steve. Who wouldn't want voter ID? And why would you want mail-in ballots if you know it's corrupt? It's a corrupt system. We're the only country in the world that has this system of mail-in ballots. Think of it. The only country in the world that has this system of mail-in ballots, because they cheat. And the fact is they could never get elected if they ever changed. They know it. If you had voter ID, if you had proof of citizenship, they could never win an election. And they know that, and they're fighting to the hill. And I put this down with men playing in women's sports. I put it down with transgender for everybody. I put it down with their horrible open border policy as being ridiculous. They don't want voter ID. No voter ID. And I put that down in the same category with men playing in women's sports. I'm going to add a fourth category. They don't want voter ID. Go ahead.
So Hillary Clinton said in an interview today that she and her husband are getting pulled into the Epstein matter to divert attention from you, and that your administration has something to hide. What's your response?
I have nothing to hide. I've been exonerated. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. They went in hoping that they'd find it and found just the opposite. I've been totally exonerated. In fact, Jeffrey Epstein was fighting that I don't get elected with some author, a sleazebag, by the way. And I've been totally exonerated. No, they're getting pulled in, and that's their problem. I don't know, they're going to have to see what happens. But I watched her in Munich, and she seriously has Trump derangement syndrome.
Do you think that she should publicly testify?
I've been totally exonerated on Epstein. And it's really interesting because they've been pulled in. Think of it. They've been pulled in. Clinton and many other Democrats have been pulled in, yeah.
The USS Gerald Ford, which is sprinting from the Caribbean to the Middle East, is about to hit its 8-month deployment mark. Usually they're deployed for about 6 months or so. Is there any concern that U.S. carriers are being stretched too thin?
I'll answer the question later.
Mr. President, you're warning Cuba to make a deal. What does that deal look like? What do you want them to
Make
do?
a deal. Cuba is right now a failed nation. They don't even have jet fuel to get for airplanes to take off. They're clogging up their runway.
Alrighty, we will continue listening into that here in just a few moments as the hour continues going on. So stick with us for the remainder of that here. Just paused it there for you guys so we can go back to it here in just a moment. Alrighty, we do have some news coming into us within the last few moments or so. According to the U.S. Capitol Police, a man with what they say appeared to have been a gun now been arrested near the Capitol. The police chief holding a press conference, the U.S. Capitol Police chief holding a press conference, a little update there just a few moments ago. So we want to play that out for you. This is moments ago outside the Capitol.
Helmet and a gas mask in the vehicle. He was also, like I mentioned earlier, the shotgun was loaded. He had additional rounds on his person. With that, I'll take some additional questions.
One question and then a follow-up, but first, just in reference to where we are here, can you point out exactly where the suspect was confronted by Capitol Police?
It was right, if you look over here on the west front, right up this walkway, right at the base of the steps, the first set of steps leading up to the Capitol.
And secondly, have you found anything in the car or anything else that indicates the suspect's motive?
That investigation is ongoing. We'll share that as soon as we get any information, but we haven't revealed any yet.
Does the motive appear to be to hurt the public or members of Congress?
That's ongoing.
Is there any footage of the incident or of the suspect?
There was, I know that there probably is cell phone footage that is out there because we could see in our footage that we had of the subject. So yes, we have our own footage, and there could be any public footage that's out there. I would ask the public, if you do have footage, please contact the United States Capitol Police. We would be interested in that for our investigation as well.
I know that a week ahead of the State of the Union, does this change your security posture in any way as you head into next week?
We take the State of the Union very, very seriously, and this doesn't change our posture. We will be prepared on State of the Union night.
Chief, was this guy known to Capitol Hill Police?
He was not. He 18-year-old who does not live in the area.
Was anybody hurt during his apprehension?
No.
And of that footage that you gathered, are you planning on releasing that to the public?
That's the investigation is very, very early. It's ongoing, so that'll be a decision that we make with investigators and prosecutors.
You said he doesn't live in the area. Do you know where he came from? What this area was the state?
We know where the vehicle was registered to, which was not to him. He had multiple addresses, so we're trying to chase down where he actually came from.
All right, folks, we have time for about 3 more questions or so.
Had people jiggling the microphones when you first described the very first thing you said about what happened. Just tell us again.
Yeah, absolutely.
What occurred?
So it's just afternoon today, a gentleman parked in the 100 block of Maryland Avenue in a white Mercedes SUV. He exited the vehicle. With a shotgun and began running towards the Capitol up the walkway just behind me. And as he approached the Capitol police officers observed this individual, challenged him, and ordered him to drop the weapon and get on the ground, which he did comply with. He was then taken into custody by United States Capitol Police.
A couple more questions.
Just one more. Just in terms of the circumstances, did the individual say anything at the time of his arrest, and also how close?
Alrighty, the U.S. Capitol Police Chief Michael Sullivan there providing an update on what he says was a white Mercedes who had a male in it. The male got out of the car, then he started running to the Capitol with a shotgun. That is the update there we have there from the U.S. Capitol Police Chief. We'll continue following this story. Okay, still to come right here on Brookland News Live. We are talking about the first day of early voting. Did you early vote? There's a number of things on the ballot for not only residents of Brookland, but residents of Craighead County. We've got more when we come back right after this quick break. Alrighty, welcome back live here into Brooklyn News. Good to be with you still, of course. Early voting beginning in Arkansas. I was just taking a look at the Ballotpedia sample ballot. Want to show it to you guys, run you guys through it, plus let you know where you are able to early vote. And then on election day, where you can go if you have not voted yet. Want to start though first with a look right now at that sample ballot. Okay, so there's a number of things you're going to vote for. This is also a primary election, which is essentially it's getting the people. So if you have it's similar to the president's when you have a primary election. So if you have four Republicans, four Democrats, there can only be 1v1. So it essentially whoever both on Democratic and Republican side gets the most votes, the rest of them below them, they get knocked out of the race essentially. So this is what you've been seeing so much campaigning for ahead of the midterms. The midterms are coming up back in 2026. They're coming up this year, guys. So this is the primary for that election. Taking you right now to the Ballotpedia map there. Tom Cotton, Ethan Dunbar, Haley Schaffner, Micah Ashby, and Jeb Little. They're all running to be the next U.S. Senator for Arkansas, or at least one of the two. So, like I was saying here, this is also being used as the primary election. So, we'll see there who takes the biggest lead when we talk about that. Governor of Arkansas, that's also a big one. You got two Democratic leaders here, Sufa, I'm not going to pronounce that last name, but Mays, and then Frederick Love there. They're both running. Who will get the Democratic ticket there? When we talk about the Arkansas Secretary of State, you see there also a number of people looking to get into that race, and it keeps going. So, the Arkansas Commissioner of State Lands going against Colchester, going against Christian Olson there, and it keeps going on there. So the Arkansas Supreme Court has a few elections. When we talk local, there's a lot going on there. You got to vote for two constables. Well, actually, you got to vote for all of them. So uh, two constables, David Chadwick, Jeff McGinnis there. Republican Party is what they're saying. The Crockett County coroner. Looks like only one person's running there, therefore that race is uncontested, meaning he will take it. Should have, there's so many things you are likely going to be voting for. So this is just a look if you're in Brooklyn, what that ticket's going to look like. You're also going to be voting for the millage increase for Brooklyn Public Schools. So that's also something that is going to be on your ballot. Now, when we talk about where to vote, did you miss it? Because I already posted a story over on brooklandnews.com a little earlier today. And there you go. You can see my screen here. Posted a story over on brooklandnews.com earlier today on this exact thing. So here's where you can vote. Give me one moment, guys. It looks like I'm having some issues here. My screen is not loading for just a moment. But the question is, where can you vote? So you can go to the Annex Center in Crockett County. There's also a polling location in Lake City. I want to give you those here. So here you go, early voting beginning in Arkansas. Now we can put it on your screen for you, and it looks like we are. There we go, we're back there. So now we can put it on your screen for you. So early voting has begun in Arkansas. So it began in Crockett County for the March 3rd Arkansas primary and nonpartisan election. Voters in Brooklyn and in Brooklyn and across the county can cast ballots ahead of the election day at two early voting sites in Jonesboro and Lake City. So that is the Crockett County Election Annex located at 315 West Jefferson Avenue, and then the Lake City Courthouse Eastern Annex at 113 Coobin Street in Lake City. Both of those polls open 8 a.m., 6 p.m. on the weekdays, 10 a.m., 4 p.m. on Saturdays, and close at 5 p.m. on March 2nd, the final day of early voting. So a number of races there. We just went through just a few of those. Remember to cast your vote. You got a while. You got plenty of time. Make sure you're casting your vote. Uh, Make sure follow us. We'll keep you up to date on what those primary results look like. Not only that, we're going to keep you up to date on who these candidates are. So Lot to talk about there, a lot we are all following. We are going to take another quick break. When we return, we've got a press conference from Al Sharpton. He spoke about the death of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who we were talking about there at the top of the hour. We got more to come when we come back live here on Brooklyn News Live. Alrighty, welcome back here into Brooklyn News Live as we continue our coverage after Jesse Jackson has died at age 84. So we want to bring you a press conference from earlier today. Al Sharpton speaking from New York City on his death. Let's turn the audio up here and listen in.
Good morning. About 2:30 a.m. this morning, or around about 3, I received a text from Jesse Jackson Jr. that Reverend Jesse Jackson had passed. And a couple of hours later, Reverend Jackson's son Yusuf called me and put me on speakerphone where I had prayer with the family as they stood around his bed before taking him out to the funeral home. So it has been a very sad day for me, even though we knew he was very ill. When the moment comes, you're not prepared for it. I first met Jesse Jackson when I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Pentecostal church in Brookland, New York, Washington Temple Church of God in Christ. And I'd become enticed with what was going on in activism because I was watching Adam Clay Powell on television. My mother brought me to Bishop Washington, our pastor, and he said, no, I can put him with some ministers that's involved. He brought me to Reverend William Jones. And they made me the youth director at 13 years old of Operation Breadbasket. under the national director, Reverend Jesse Jackson. Reverend Jackson was about 27, I was 13, and ever since then, for 69 years, we bonded. The last time he spoke in New York, he spoke at the House of Justice for us. I can't think of a time that we were not spending time together. Now, he was a hard taskmaster. He would always get on me about, why are you on this issue? You need to be more studied on this. But he was one who was more responsible than anyone for teaching me activism. On a personal level, my family and I used to spend every Christmas at the Jackson's house. And the last 2 Christmases took my daughters, one who's with us today, to Chicago. We spent Christmas night at Reverend Jackson's house just 5 weeks ago, and last Christmas. We would feed people at the House of Justice and then go to the airport in the afternoon and fly to be with him. So I will always be able to cherish that I spent his last Christmas with him and spent last days even when he could no longer speak well. What I think on a broader level is Jesse Jackson changed American politics. Jesse Jackson changed the civil rights movement. He was a consequential and transformative figure. And he changed New York politics. Let me go in that order. One, it was when Dr. King died, was killed in '68, he was talking to Jesse Jackson and Ben Branch over the rail at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. And Reverend Jackson was literally one of the 2 last people to speak to him. I always wondered how much trauma that must have been for him to witness Reverend King's assassination. He never would talk about it too much, but it drove him. He kept saying, we got to keep Dr. King's dream alive. He was 12 years younger than King, as I was 13 years younger than him, and he would always challenge me that your generation's got to do what John Lewis and all of us that were younger than Dr. King did. He kept the movement going by keeping the economic boycotts of Operation Breadbasket going, by dealing with diversity, by fighting for affirmative action. You must remember when the late 70s and 80s, when Reaganism rose and there was this backlash on civil rights, Jesse Jackson took the front with John Lewis and others to restore what Dr. King had done. We romanticized the 60s like they were never challenged. They were challenged. We had to renew the Voting Rights Act every 5 years. We had to deal with state laws. And it was Reverend Jackson that did that into our era of having to deal with racial profiling and driving while black and all. We learned all that from him. It was in 1984, when he ran for president, that he changed the rules that primaries were governed by, where in pre-Jackson, if you ran in New York, for example, and you got 104 delegates and your opponent got 100 delegates, your opponent got all 204 delegates. It was Jesse that made it be, no, you get your 100, they get 104. With him changing it to proportional delegate representation is how Barack Obama was made the nominee. Hillary Clinton won more big states, but he was able to accumulate more delegate votes. So he literally changed the party in '84. And then in '86, the midterm elections changed because he had registered so many new voters that had not been calculated before, that many of the states turned, and the U.S. Senate '86 became Democratic control and maintained a lot of the things that we would have lost under the Reagan era because Jesse Jackson registered those voters. In '88, he ran again, got 7 million votes, won the city of New York. It was his '88 race where he won the city, he lost the state to the caucus, but he won the city of New York, which made us believe in '89 we could win. And we did by electing David Dinkins. David Dinkins was his coordinator for New York City in '88. and became the mayor in '89 off Jackson votes and the belief we could win it because Jesse Jackson, despite the controversies around him, won the city of New York in '88. So I'm not talking about somebody that just is some removed figure in history. He literally changed American politics, New York politics, and kept the civil rights movement going, and then raised some of us that have been in the forefront in the first part of the 21st century to do what we do. And he's been there with us. When we did George Floyd, he was right there in the church with us when I did the eulogy. He was there with us with Trayvon Martin. He never stopped. I once said to him, "You already in history. You've gotten all the honors. Why do you keep going?" He said, "I never learned how to retire." He said, "You got to remember, Al, Dr. King was killed at 39 years old. Medgar Evers was killed at 39 years old. Malcolm X was killed at 39. We were never raised to be 40 years old." He said, "I woke up one day at 55. There's no retirement plan for us." And he kept going until this morning. So my whole life and the whole country and the world was changed. Don't forget, he went and got hostages from Iraq, hostages from Syria that no one else could get for this country. Never got the credit he was due. But he said to me that those that need the credit don't deserve it, and those that deserve the credit don't need it. Well, I'm going to make sure as long as I'm alive, he gets the credit. Reverend Jesse Jackson. On this Saturday, our regular Saturday Action Rally will be at the historic Mother Amy Zion Church. It's the church that Frederick Douglass spoke at. It's the church that Sojourner Truth at the altar changed her name from a slave name to Sojourner Truth. It's the church that Madam C.J. Walker's funeral is at, church that Paul Robeson was a member of. His brother was one of the pastors. So in Black History Month, we're going to dedicate the action rally this week to Jesse Jackson, which was the last organization he spoke for in the city of New York. Last time to Harlem, when he left the House of Justice, we took him to Sylvia's. And I'll never forget when he finished, we had to help with the fork. And he told me, "Wheel me into the kitchen," and he shook hands with all of the people in Sylvia's restaurant, shook hands with him in the kitchen. That's the last time he was here. So we're going to honor him. We're asking all of our city officials to join us there. We are the organization that Dr. Jackson worked with, and we're going to honor him this Saturday. We want all of them to come and give their condolences in a New York salute to Reverend Jesse Jackson. Any questions?
Yeah, Reverend Sharpton, what did he open your eyes to? What did he help you realize that you didn't know or weren't aware of, or how you got better?
He opened my eyes in two ways. He opened my eyes that we could make a difference, we could make change, that we could not be cynical. So by him running, as never had been an elected official, with most black elected officials at that time not with him in '84. When he ran and did that, I believed that we could make a difference. We could change laws. And which is why I went from just being bitter to trying to be better and be able to help change the system by not just fighting the system, but fighting it inside and outside at the same time. What he did for me personally, I was born and raised in Brookland. My father left when I was 10. Unlike many other ministers that I looked up to, I didn't come from a high pedigree, a nice family with my father and grandfather and great-grandfather preachers. My father left. Jesse was born out of wedlock. He taught me, his slogan was, "I am somebody." It's not how you're born, it's where you go with it. So he made me believe even a kid on welfare in Brownsville, Brooklyn, could be somebody because of Jesse Jackson taught me that. Look what he did. Born out of wedlock in Greenville, South Carolina. If he could do it, I could do it. It's easy for a preacher that's got PhD and his daddy was a big preacher and granddaddy. It's easy for him to do it. It wasn't easy for Jesse. And he taught me that it didn't have to be easy for me, but I could make it anyway.
Good morning, Reverend Sharpton. I was just looking at some of your archival video this morning. One of them that just popped up was the March in 1995 against the social service cuts against Governor Pataki. What do you remember? Take us back to that day and what you remember about how powerful that day was with Reverend Jackson.
In 1995, they had cut the budget. Pataki had just been elected in 94. And I decided we were going to do a 10-day walk from New York to Albany. And we started at the Canaan Baptist Church where Wyatt T. Walker was pastor, then Dr. King's aide, and we'd walk a mile and a half a day. Reverend Jackson flew in and said, I'm going to start the march with y'all and finish with y'all. And I said to him, oh, you're not doing all 10 days? He said, I'm not overweight, you need to walk. So we would laugh about that. And he met us in Albany, and we marched on George Pataki and got a lot of the legislation restored. That's how much he had local impact. He worked a lot with 1199, he worked with National Action Network, but he would know, he would call me. We used to talk at 6 o'clock every morning. He would call me and say, what are y'all doing about this referendum? I said, how do you know about that? But he was constantly kept his hand on the pulse on what was going on around the country.
Reverend Sharpton, can you speak to how he was a bridge between generations, Dr. King's generation, your generation, and the generations today of the social justice movement?
I think that Jesse Jackson was a bridge that was not given credit for. He was the youngest person on Dr. King's staff, so he was attractive to people like me that was in the generation behind him, because he was more hip. He used to wear a Martin Luther King medallion. That's where I got that from. And he used to wear vests. I never saw him wear a suit and tie until about 1972. And
alrighty, Reverend Al Sharpton there, speaking on his not only his friendship but the legacy that Reverend Jesse Jackson will leave behind. Okay, we want to take you. We said we would do it, so we're going to do it right now. We're going to finish out the feed that we started with a little bit earlier. President Donald Trump speaking to the press on the back of Air Force One, addressing a number of different topics. Let's go back there and continue listening in.
It's really a humanitarian threat. And we have a lot of great Cuban Americans, and they're going to be very happy when they're going to be able to go back and say hello to their relatives and do things that they should have been allowed to do for a long time. I'm very interested in the people that are here that were treated so badly by Castro and the Cuban authorities. They have been treated horribly. So we'll see how it all turns out. But Cuba and us, we are talking. In the meantime, there's an embargo. There's no oil, there's no money, there's no anything.
If a deal isn't made, would you consider an operation like the one in Venezuela?
I don't want to answer that. Why would I answer that? If I was, it wouldn't be a very tough operation, as you can figure. But I don't think that'll be necessary.
Mr. President, Marco Rubio received really positive reviews in Munich. Is there a scenario in which you would support him at the top of the ticket at 28?
Something I don't have to worry about now. I've got 3 years to go. So it's something I don't have to worry. JD's fantastic and Marco's, they're both fantastic. I think I think Marco did a great job in Munich.
President Xi, in your talk with him recently, it warned about sending more weapons to Taiwan. What was your response to him? Are you going to send more weapons to Taiwan?
I have a response. I'm talking to him about it. We had a good conversation, and we'll make a determination pretty soon.
Tell us about your trip.
We have a very good relationship with President Xi. In fact, I'll be going, I guess, in April.
I'm sorry. Tell us about your trip to Rome, Georgia on Thursday, your trip to Marjorie Taylor Greene's old district.
Well, we have a lot of people that want to take Marjorie Taylor Greene's place. And many, many candidates, and I have to choose one. And they say whoever I endorse is going to win. But we have a lot of good candidates who want to take her place.
So your Court of Peace meets for the first time this week. You said it could be the most consequential international organization ever. That's a high bar. What do you want for this first meeting?
Well, I think it can be. We're going to have all world leaders. They're putting up tremendous amounts of money. And I think it's going to go far beyond Gaza. I think it'll be peace all over the world. And we're working in conjunction with the United Nations. Look, the United Nations is there. They haven't lived up to potential. The United Nations has great potential. They haven't lived up to the potential. But I think they might aid us a little bit. But we have the greatest leaders in the world joining the Board of Peace. And we'll be doing it in conjunction with, in some cases, the United Nations and see if we can get the United Nations to get on the ball.
You've been a kingmaker in a lot of Republican primaries. A lot of people,
including foreign nations. I was very honored to see that a very wonderful prime minister in Japan won by a landslide. I think she was going to win, but she won by just about the biggest vote ever in Japan, and she attributed my endorsement for that, and that's very good because we have a great relationship with her and Japan.
a lot of Republicans in D.C. are asking you to endorse John Cornyn, but you haven't yet. Is there a chance you wouldn't endorse Paxton, and why haven't you endorsed Cornyn?
I just haven't made a decision on that race yet. It's got a ways to go, and I haven't. He's a good man. John is a good. I like all three of them, actually. I like all three. Those are the toughest races. They've all supported me. They're all good, and you're supposed to pick one. So we'll see what happens. But I support all three.
Are you going to get involved in the rift between UAE and Saudi Arabia?
No, I'm not. I would be.
What do you think of that?
I would be. Well, I could settle it very easily. But they have they do indeed have a rift, and we can get it settled very easily. I settle wars. I settle a lot of rifts between countries. You've been noticing, right? That's an easy one to settle.
On Venezuela, Nancy Rodriguez last week said that Nicolas Maduro is still a legitimate president and is innocent. I know you said the relationship is a 10, but I'm curious what's your thoughts on that?
I think we have a great relationship. I think she probably has to say that. I think politically maybe she has to say that. But the relationship with Venezuela, she's doing a very good job. And I fully understand that statement.
You're going to have Ukraine talks tomorrow as well in Geneva with Witkoff and Jared Kushner.
Yeah.
What are you expecting there? Is there
Well, they're big talks. It's going to be very easy. I mean, look, so far, Ukraine better come to the table fast. That's all I'm telling you. We are in a position. We want them to come. And by the way, I watched AOC answering questions in Munich. This was not a good look for the United States. I watched Gavin Newsom answering questions in Munich, and this was a bad look for our country. These two people are incompetent. And at least Hillary's competent. She's just Trump deranged. She was so deranged. She is an angry woman. But I watched the other two speaking and answering basic questions. Look, Gavin has destroyed California. And AOC, I never heard her speak very much. And they started answering questions. She had no idea what was happening. She had no idea how to answer, very important questions concerning the world. But she can't answer questions concerning New York City either, because New York City is got some problems.
Now that Gaza's entering phase 2, should Israel lift its ban on foreign journalists being allowed into Gaza?
We'll be lifting a lot of bans pretty soon. I think you're going to see everything opening up. Gaza, look, we have peace in the Middle East. Now, you have some flames here and there, but we essentially have peace in the Middle East, and that happened primarily when we did the B-2 attack on the potential nuclear power. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 1 month. If that happened, it would have been a whole different deal. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
One thing, so the $5 billion that you announced yesterday for the Board of Peace, is that a down payment, or are you expecting more?
We want to help people. That's peanuts compared to the kind of money that has been spent in the Middle East by Bush, by Obama, by all of these people, by Biden. I mean, the money he spent. But the money he spent, that's such a small amount of money by comparison. But we want to make it successful. I think it has the chance to be the most consequential board ever assembled of any kind.
What was called for Ron DeSantis?
Great. We had a great time. We had Ron and a couple of other people, two great coaches, as you know. The two greatest coaches, I would say, certainly in college football. And we had a good time playing golf. Thank you very much. I didn't get to play today because I'm working on other things, very important things, much more important than golf. Thank you very much.
Melania for Valentine's, Mr. President?
She's on the plane. Melania's on the plane. We have a movie star on the plane.
Did you have any Valentine's Day plans with her?
Did I what?
Did you do anything for Valentine's with her? Did you give her flowers?
I better not tell you that. Goodbye, everybody. That's the toughest question. No, she's very, I'm proud of the fact, her movie's so successful. It's a tremendous hit. And she does a good job. She does a very consequential work. I think you're going to see in the end that she's going to go down as one of the truly great first ladies. When you see what she's doing with Russia, Ukraine, and so many of the other things she's doing. She's done a good job. She works very hard.
Is Westmore invited to the White House this week, Mr. President?
Just so you understand, the governors were all other than two. One was from Colorado, where he's got a 73-year-old woman who's probably got serious cancer, confined, and for some time in solitary confinement because she pointed out the voter theft that was taking place. In other words, she pointed it out. They arrested her and they gave her a 9-year sentence. And he better let her go because it's a disgrace. And the other guy's just a bad governor. He's not doing a good job. Wes Moore, he's doing a terrible job. And you can see that. Well, I didn't invite those two. If the rest of them don't want to show up, that's okay. I hear they're coming, a lot of them. The White House is a great place to be. But no, I don't like the job that Wes Moore's doing. I don't like the job he's doing in the bridge. I don't like the fact that he did that horrible, with the pipes and the Potomac. And he's not doing the job. They got to do it, and I'm gonna have to get the federal government involved in getting it fixed because he can't fix anything. Thank you very much.
President Donald Trump there briefing the press late last night aboard Air Force One as he was heading back to the White House. So again, addressing a number of different things, including what he did for Valentine's Day with Melania Trump. Remember, you can join us weekdays, 2 p.m. We right back here tomorrow with your top headlines and so much more. In the meantime, you can follow us for news as it happens on my social media pages. They've been scrolling there at the bottom of your screen. That does for us on this Tuesday. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I will see you all tomorrow.